land of Zion and Jerusalem. Obviously, we are not in Jerusalem. However, I thought that this was a fitting prayer as it was talking about being a free people in our land and celebrating the core identity of America and the spirit that we have as a country. And I think that's very fitting for this weekend being July 4th weekend. So please join me in Im Tirtzu. Im Tirtzu, Im Tirtzu, Ein Zo Agada, Ein Zo Agada, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, בארץ ציון, בירושלים תרצו, אם תרצו, אין זו אגדה, אין זו אגדה, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, בארץ ציון, בירושלים תרצו, אם תרצו, אין זו אגדה, אין זו אגדה, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, בארץ ציון, ירושלים. עולם חסד ייבנה, ידעי די די ידעי די, עולם חסד ייבנה, ידעי די די ידעי די, עולם חסד ייבנה, yada dai 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 yada dai dai, olam chesed yibane, yada dai 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 yada dai dai. I will build this world from love. Yada dai 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 yada dai dai, and you must build this world from love. Yada dai 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 yada dai dai, and if we build this world from love, yada dai 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 yada dai dai, then God will build this world from love. Yada dai 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 yada dai dai, olam chesed yibane, yada dai 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 yada dai dai, olam chesed yibane, yada dai 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 yada dai dai.
We continue our service together with our candle blessing. So for those of you that would like to join me, please feel free to have a responsible adult light your candles as we officially welcome in our Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu וציוונו להדליק נר של Shabbat. And we continue together with the singing of Lecha Dodi. And we will sing our traditional, if you happen to have your prayer book, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, yishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat mechuvel milcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh b'kedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Itmoreri, ki varechu miori, uri shirabiri, kevod Adonai alayich nila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Bo'im shalom ateret ba'ala, gam besimcha uvtzola, tochem bo'edim sigula, bo'י chala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. We continue together with the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadash mirabam, Elmad ivrach yutev yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei kol beit Yisrael. Bagala u'vizman kariv v'yimaru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach, me'almaya yitbarach, v'yishtabach, yitbahar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithalal shmei kodesha ritchu. Lehela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'yimaru. Amen.
If you are able, please rise.
Borechu et Adonai, Amivorach, Amivorach. Baruch Adonai, Amivorach, Leolam, Leolam, Vaed. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Now and forever.
We continue on page 30 or on your screen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, v'mishmeroteham barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila, Adonai tzavaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael.
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated if you were standing. Ve'ata et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinontam levanecha v'dibarata bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam lehot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtabtam al mizuzot beitecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. On page 39, we're reading, in a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace. Give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, תורת תהילות תוסיף אלה, תורת תהילות תוסיף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום וחמיתנו שומרנו לחיים. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim, lechaim.
We continue together with the words of Yismechu, which you can find on either page 44 in your prayer book or in front of you on your screen. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei Shevi Shabbat בטובך שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקירשתו שבת, חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, זכר למעשה בראשית שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת, ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. We join together with the Amidah, and we ask that those who are able to please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agit ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Melech Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chazei Avot v'Imot, U'Mevii Geula Livnei Bneihem, Le'ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Hozeh u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Be'ezerat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, B'chayei hakol atah Rab le'Hoshia, Morid atah, Mechalkel ha'chaim b'chesed, B'chayei hakol b'rachamim rabim, Tzomech noflim v'rofeh cholim, U'matir asurim, U'mekayem emunato l'shenei afar, V'chamocha ba'al givurot, U'midom elach, Melech memit u'mechayei, U'matzmiach Yeshua, B'nei Aman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom ya'alucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
On page 55, or on your screen, may these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Ritzei, Ritzei, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, ve'hamcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam, ve'ahava tekavel, u'teil ratzon tamid, u'teil ratzon tamid, avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha b'yirat navod. She'otecha levadecha b'yirat navod.
On page 59, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulacha na'eh lechodot.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Please take a moment for silent prayer, meditations of your own hearts.
יהיו לרצון אמרתי והגיוני בי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרתי והגיוני בי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. יהיו לרצון אמרתי והגיוני בי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרתי והגיוני בי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is really such a joy to see so many people and to see faces of people who we haven't seen for a while. At least I haven't. This is perhaps your first time on for Shabbat with us, and I just want you to know how wonderful it is to have you. And we hope that you will continue to join us as we will continue to be doing this type of a service moving forward for quite some time. Hopefully, as someone asked at the beginning, how long, we don't know, but until it's safe for us to be together. But one of the things I want to stress is that we have the ability to create sanctuaries wherever we are, wherever we take a moment to pause and reflect and to welcome in God's presence, whether that be through study, through prayer, through self-reflection and meditation. We may not be in a physical sanctuary, but each of us has our own physical sanctuary in our own homes. And together we create a sacred community here as well. Hi, Richard. You look great. He's got a great view. Now, I want to start by saying that this Shabbat is Parshat Chukat Balak, but I decided I wanted to sort of return to a little bit of a sense of normalcy, if that's possible. And it is the first Shabbat of the month. And so I wanted to offer you a story as we would have normally on a share Shabbat. So if you're having fried chicken, you're doing it right. If you're not, maybe you're doing like I did and got Bernstein's, and I hope you have a delicious meal. But pretend it's fried chicken, everybody, and we're going to have a wonderful time. So the story that I'd like to share with you today is called The Weight of One Good Deed. And the story goes that there was a man who was up in his ages, and he was 110 years old when he finally passed. And it turns out that when he goes up to the heavens, actually his soul is standing before the heavenly court. And in front of him, they see that there is a gigantic scale in front. And so he sees on the scale that on one side, we had positive things. We had all of the positive activities that he had done in his life and his good deeds. And on the other, we saw all of the negative behavior and all of the things that hopefully he wished he had the ability to change, but those, as we might say, the bad deeds. And the scale was teetering, and it ended up that it was swaying, and the negative side was definitely being favored. So there was, of course, a defending angel, and I see my father's on here, so he'll appreciate that there's a lawyer reference, but we have the defender who is very concerned about this, who sees that there is this justice that is about to say that his life was more negative than it was positive. And the defender calls out to the judge and says, "Judge, there has to be something that we've overlooked. I'm so concerned. Hang on just one moment while I confer with my client, this soul." And they were together. And the soul says, maybe there is something that I've overlooked. Maybe I have forgotten something. He said, "Wait, I remember. There was one time when I was with my driver, and we had our cart and we had the horse, and we were driving, and we were almost about to pass a family whose wagon had been taken off the road, and they'd fallen into the wagon and all a big swampy area that turned out to be quicksand, and they were all screaming. And so what happened? The driver that was taking this soul had stopped and said, 'We have to do something. We must help. Will you help me?' And so he said, 'Of course I'll help. This family is stuck in the mud. What else am I to do?' And so they got a rope, and they attached the rope, and they pulled, and they were able to save this family. And so they shared the story. And when the defending angel shared it, it was, of course, that the prosecuting angel said that he said, "This doesn't sound right. If you think about it, this wasn't his idea. How can he get credit for this? How is this something that's going to be able to be used to balance the scale? It wasn't his idea." Well, it turns out that the judge then said, "I'm going to allow it. We're going to let that add to it." And so the scale starts to balance again. And unfortunately, it's still leaning a bit towards that negative side, toward that negative behavior. And so again, this defender calls forward and says, "There has to be something else. You know what? Let me think about this." He says, "I know what it was. It wasn't just one person. It was an entire family. We have to have more weight allowed to this if there was an entire family of people who were able to be saved, right? Not just one person." Of course, again, the prosecutor says, "I don't think so. That doesn't sound like a very good argument. I mean, you're really grasping at straws." But the judge said, "I'll let it pass." And so it continues to balance out, and they're thinking they're in the clear when it starts to go down yet again. And so, as we can imagine, the defender says, "We've got more. I know what it is." He said, "This was not just a family. This was not just a single person, but this included the animal. We saved this horse. That has to count for something too. Please." And so again, the defender at this point had given up, wanted to know what the judge would say, and the judge, of course, allowed it. And they get closer and they get closer. Again, it didn't make it. It was still leaning to the negative side. And so once more, the defender says, "But what about all that mud?" Right? I mean, that was making it even harder. We had to pull that much more, the soul and this driver, in order to make them move and to pull them out. Really, this is the extra effort that we need to be rewarded for. And the judge, of course, agrees, at which point the scale begins to tip, and it tips just over so that it's on this positive behavior. And this is where I want to ask the question: would we want to have all of these very difficult calisthenics going on in order for ourselves to be weighted on the right side of justice? What would it be for us to have all of these added efforts? And my hope is that as we think about that, we still have a little bit of time before the high holidays, which will be very meaningful in a new setting, but they will still be happening. As we're thinking about that, it's time for us to examine how hard we think it should be for someone to be able to recognize the good that we've done in our lives. With that, I want to move towards healing, because we not only think of ourselves, but we think of the healing of our community. One of the traditions that is a beautiful tradition that many of my friends participate in is that when making challah on Shabbat, there's a tradition of reciting a prayer of healing when you're taking and pulling the challah. And so as I was making my challah today, which, in case you haven't seen my hands, are red, white, and blue. There's only so much that I can hide. The challah, I thought to myself about the healing prayers, and then I said to myself, this is a red, white, and blue patriotic challah. Wouldn't it be so nice if it were easier just to say a prayer to make this nation heal? And that is my hope, too, as we are headed into this 4th of July weekend, that not only will the people who I'm about to list be included in our prayers, but my hope is that we as a nation can continue to work on ourselves and to better our communities, so that as we move forward, that our nation can be even more of a light and continue to do wonderful things. And so with that, we think at this time of Gail Russick, Danica Marcus and Carter, Ezra Melech ben Rachel Sarah, Mike Ammons, Helen Fine, Jeremy Wise, Paul Levine, Ed Bulin, Harvey Olson, Christine Wagner, Candace Smith, Tracy Huddleston, Joe McKenna, Ellen Goodrich, Mark Romanowski, Jerry McDonald, Richard Lieberman, Joel Pinsker, Marty Sacker, Sandy Sapphire, Laura Holtzinger-Levin, Avraham ben Avraham Vesara, Sidel Ballas, Bob and Gert Kahn, Dave Bussey, Ron Levine, Lorraine Kotler, Emily November, Gail November, Maxine Rubin, Jay Bainbridge, Chelsea Smith, Shava Eta, Evan Glenn, Eric Weipel, Ruth Hirsch, Rory Freisler, David Arkin, Bernice Brandt, and Deborah Seidel. And of course, if there are others, we hope that you are naming them in your heart and that we may add their names to our prayers. Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu, mishivarech ve'rapeh et hacholim. May the one who has blessed and healed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, continue to bring blessing and healing to all who are in need of healing. Baruch atah Adonai rofei hacholim. And we continue with the words from Mishaberach to be sung on page 253 or on your screen.
Mishaberach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu v'chor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We continue together with the words of Aleinu, and I will ask those that are able to please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה לארצי בראשית, שלא עשנו כהרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה,
שלושם כרכנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
At this time, we think of our loved ones who are no longer with us. In particular, we are remembering that we are in a period of Shloshim for Dr. Maury Summer, Ellen Rosenthal, Ivan Zawatsky, and Betty Chernick. We are also remembering those who have died at this season in years past. We observe the yahrzeits for Irene Blumen, Isidore Bramson, Rose Zimmerman Kolp, Helen C. Eisenberger, Emma P. Fialco, Marshall Fisher, Ruth Franklin, Rose Gall, Annabelle Gershow, Elmer Gilbert, Benjamin Goldflies, Abraham Harris, Mildred Hensley, Bella C. Jaffa, Anne Krieger, Jacob Lehman, Yetta Epstein Lewis, Hans Lieberman, Louis Philip Office, Babette Reinheimer, Israel Rosen, Suzanne Rothstein, Dora Rubin, George Rudin, David T. Sacker, David Alexander Seidel, Ronald J. Silverman, Carl Tenbosch, Evelyn Weinberger, Emily Weissman, Melvit Wiviet, and Joan Wyman. Of course, if there are others, we keep them in our heart, and you may say their names aloud. And if you need to say the names that I have read a little more clearly or more correctly, I invite you to do that as well. At this time, I invite all who are remembering or in mourning to rise first, if you are able. And I invite all others to rise as well, as we are a community that supports one another in these words. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalel v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always and only be for a blessing. If you'd like, you may be seated. At this
Now, raise our fruit of the vine, our wine, our grape juice, whatever you might have with you, and we recite our blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, akesher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava ufratzoni inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים. לחיים.
Now, I know that Grant is probably going to be reciting this motzi, but I had to share with you what my red, white, and blue challah turned out like. Oops. That's not quite what I anticipated. But here they are, and they look delicious, so we're hoping that they are. And I'm wearing my red, white, and blue for a very festive holiday weekend. I hope that you are all going to stay socially distanced and observe it in your own special ways.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
I'd like to tell you that the challah is actually delicious, and for anyone who's interested, I got the recipe off of Tuesday's Tidbits. Did everyone hear that? I use Tidbits to make my challah. There's so many wonderful things for you to use Tidbits for, so please make sure you're getting it and sign up if you aren't. But I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and a thank you to Grant and to Rabbi Sobo and to Courtney for all of their hard work in making this a meaningful Shabbat. And if you all want to wish each other a Shabbat Shalom, you may. You can unmute yourselves. Wish you a happy 4th of July. And the red dye 40 is delicious.
Shabbat Shalom,